Hello and welcome to Link Ahead, the City of Dublin podcast. Okay, Bruce, you're the giant sports fan here.
True.
So what do these three teams have in common? The 2000 LA Lakers, the 96 Chicago Bulls, and yes, folks, the 1946 Cleveland Browns.
Those three teams pulled off the three-peat of championships. 3 in a row. Actually, the Browns pulled off 4 in a row, 46-49 in the AAFC. And would go on to win the 1950 NFL title as well. And that is not the Super Bowl, everybody. It's an NFL title. So.
Well, we won't talk about what's happened since.
No. That is not a good show topic.
All right. Well, today's guest is a three-peat guest here on Link Ahead, and he knows we don't extend that repeat invitation to just anyone, Bruce.
So please welcome back to the show, Joe Bishara, theater supervisor for Dublin's Abbey Theater.
Thank you both. It is an honor and a privilege to be a 3-time member of this club.
I wish we had like a velvet jacket or something to give you, Joe.
Good
I would
idea.
receive that.
A crown, a scepter, something. Very theatrical.
Maybe on his 5th time.
Yeah, I think so.
Jacket.
All right. And not just a three-peat guest, a 3-time and 4-time winner of the Broadway World Columbus Awards. Congrats.
Thank you very much.
Yes, that's
Thank
right,
you.
Bruce. This is kind of breaking news, and I cannot believe our luck. We had Joe scheduled to record this podcast today, and would you believe it? The Broadway World Awards were announced this morning. And you guessed it, the Abbey Theater and Joe himself are big winners once again. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It was really, I have to tell you, it's so, it's humbling, but it's also just really, it's a testament to how the space is operating, serving the needs of Dublin residents, as well as also the artistic needs of artists here in this community. And so to receive that type of recognition, it's an honor. Thank you.
Well, don't sell yourself short. You need leadership when it comes to those awards, too. So congratulations, because you're a humongous part of that.
Right.
So
Thank you.
Let's start with the two biggies. First off, favorite local theater. Now, this award has been given out the past 3 years, and our Abbey Theater of Dublin has been the recipient all 3 years. So, Joe, congratulations, and talk about that award in particular and what it means to you.
Well, it means a lot. It's something we have. In the past year, we've been able to expand our staffing, and so we now have a theater specialist who's working alongside me, and his name is Daniel Rodriguez-Hio. And Daniel and I were discussing this when the nominations first came out. We were actually the recipient of 43 nominations across all 16 categories this year.
Wow.
So that's
Amazing.
amazing, right? And so Daniel was like, well, hey, look, in your mind's eye, what would be the greatest thing? And I said, I want the three-peat. I want us to be named favorite local theater, because I think that that's all encompassing, because it speaks to how not only what we are programming and producing, but how we're interacting and collaborating with the other arts organizations that we call resident arts groups. It's also speaking to how we are trying to elevate even, the people that are trying to host events in our space.
Right.
And I think that that's how the Abbey is different than some of the other organizations that were up for that nomination. We are more than just a theatrical production entity. We are truly trying to make sure that anything that in our space is being put in the best possible position to succeed.
Yeah, well, congratulations on that three-peat. And the other biggie, Best Director, and that has gone to you, Joe Bishara, 4 years in a row. So talk about that one.
Well, this one was extra special. Last time I was joining you on Linked Ahead, we were talking about American Idiot, right? And American Idiot has been a passion project for me. It was something that when I even first came here, when I walked into the Abbey, when I was having my second interview, I'm like, this is where American Idiot is supposed to be. Wow. It's the perfect fit. And we had to wait to roll that out. We wanted to, if you build it, they will come. And we did some things that I think we're more familiar with the community with our pre-professional programs first. Makes complete sense. Crawl before you walk, before you run.
Sure.
Well, American Idiot was quite the undertaking. It was the first time we were introducing a live band to be accompanying our pre-professional artists. We also brought in a graphic designer to create graphics specifically for that production. So it was a huge undertaking. And so for that piece to be recognized, it's incredibly gratifying. And again, also just like, it's very humbling. And it's also something that I would never have even considered doing in some of my prior stops along my career. It was because it was the perfect fit. It was the right space. And we had the right technology to make that piece come to life. So
Well, and it was so good. I mean, it honestly was just so well done. And that cast of characters that you have, I've seen several of them year after year, in Rent and Grease and then in American Idiot. And they're just really talented. And the show is fantastic.
So, Joe, you've collaborated collaborated on more than 250 theatrical productions all over the U.S., and you've won awards as an actor, director, educator, producer. Not that winning awards is the goal, but what are your common threads among these great productions?
It's a great question. I'm going to take it back to something that has nothing to do with theater, but everything to do with what made me realize that coming to Dublin was what I needed to do. So my father had the privilege of working with a corporate entity for 25 years. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by privilege of that is that, corporate world can be a little bit more cutthroat, right? And so when I would talk to my dad about that, and this is when I was still singing for my supper. And when you're an actor, that's what you're doing. You're fortunate if you're in the same spot, if you're working regionally for 6 months. So your home is your car, right? And so I talked to him about that because it was just such a clash of cultures from how he chose to have his career and what I was doing. And I said, how did you know you're in the right spot? And he said to me, you believe in the people and you believe in the product. And that's interchangeable. It can be like, wow, I'm coming to this because I think that this product is really amazing. And I realized that what he was explaining to me is something that I was doing. I was being drawn to organizations because either the artistic director of that company had a really, really profound positive reputation, or they were working on a show that I felt that my skill set matched what they needed. And so then when I moved over to the other side of the table and I went, that's how I need to create the culture here. And so I guess that's what I would tell you. It's it's so important. Yes, the recipe is important, but the recipe means nothing if you don't have the right ingredients.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
That is awesome.
And that's why, we're award winning. And so you can see the full list of Broadway Columbus Awards on our website. But quick recap, 8 total awards, 5 for American Idiot and 2 for Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. What a year. You must be so proud.
Yes, I am. Thank you very much.
Now, looking ahead to this year's amazing season, we're going to go to walk our listeners through it production by production. But before that, Bradley, Joe, how would you describe the 2025 lineup?
I know it probably sounds cliche, but I have never been this excited about every single thing that we are providing this community. To me, I feel like it's the perfect mix. There is something for everyone. Mm-hmm. So what we have found in our research historically over the past 5 years is what do Dublin audiences gravitate towards? And I think there needs to be a hook. And what I mean by that is there has to be something that they're already familiar with, but maybe not to the depth and breadth of what that subject fully entails. And so if you're looking at our season, I think that there's something that people already know about the titles that you're seeing. I think people might have a familiarity with Mae West. I don't think they realize how truly iconic and how innovative Mae West was, way ahead of her time. And the list just goes on in regards to that. I think whether you realize it or not, you know a song from Schoolhouse Rock Live. Okay? You just do.
Oh, that's going to be so fun.
You just do. And so as I'm going through everything, and when we were curating the season and putting it together, I kept on going, yes, yes. I never had a moment where I was like, I'm questioning this. Yeah. And so I'm just so excited to share this slate of productions because there is something for everyone, meaning that there's something for people 3 and up. I mean, it really is something that I think that checks all the boxes for this entire community.
Well, so you mentioned it, Mae West After Dark. Let's get right into it. In February, a show for audience. This one's members 13 and up. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that one.
Well, Mae West was so ahead of her time. And it's even I learned more things about her through my discussions with the playwright/performer that I thought I had a pretty profound understanding of her. You study her when you're learning about theater history because, man, did she push the envelope. We're talking about things happening in the 1910s and the 1920s that people talk about sometimes now and think are risky. She was, it's almost 100 years ago, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
1920s, yeah. And so she was so innovative, not only in cinema, but also pushing the envelope in New York, trying to make people discuss LGBTQ issues back then in what she was writing. And it's so neat to see her. You get to see her in her onstage persona, but then you get to see her actually going through her life experiences in this piece. And this is written by a local playwright, local playwright performer. And so we did a lot of this during the virtual theater project during COVID, but it's something that's really great to revisit again with a local playwright, with all local artists involved with a world premiere production.
All right. Next up, the coolest way to learn history. And this was actually my childhood, learning grammar and math, Schoolhouse Rock Live Junior. And you kind of mentioned it. So it has a quick run in March. Tell us about it.
Right. So this is a part of our Bound for Broadway program that we offer on Saturday mornings. So these young artists, and there are 39 of them between the ages of 9 and 16,
Oh my.
they only have 10 rehearsals. 10 rehearsals from 9 a.m. to noon on Saturdays. And then it culminates in a weekend of productions. And Schoolhouse Rock Live was a part of the fabric of my childhood.
Yeah.
I actually performed in a production of this many moons ago when I was singing for my supper. And it's just something that you love. It's nothing but it's pure fun. It's infectious energy. And you get to learn something along the way. It's how I learned about conjunctions when I was a kid.
Or a bill on Capitol Hill.
There you go.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, in April, creationism and evolution collide in Bobby and the Chimps. This is a co-production with Original Production Theaters. Tell us about that.
Right. So we had the privilege of being a part of the North American premiere of James Phillips' play McQueen, which was about fashion designer Alexander McQueen. I teased this piece last time I was on the podcast. I said, we have the opportunity to be a part of the world premiere of a play written by someone who is used to premiering their plays on the West End. This is the piece. So James reached out to me after we received quite a bit of a critical acclaim for McQueen, which also won a Broadway World Award for Best New Play. And James said, Joe, thank you so much for being an advocate for my works. I have something I think you might be interested in. And I had to wait 24 hours, but I'm not going to lie. When I read the email, I was fanboying out. And then I wrote really calmly, hey, James, I'd love to take a look at that. And inside, I was And so this is the piece. And so it takes place in ironically, but it's also meant to be intentional, in a small town of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And it is all about this group of friends who decides that one of them wants to run for the school board because the school board has had 9 members, and right then it was struck down the middle, 4 Republican, 4 Democrat. And they were worried about it going one way versus the other. And then it kind of goes from there. And then the person that they decide to have run from their group, he has some strong opinions about creationism. And they're wondering how it's going to work. But I'm like, wow, this is so like aligned with what we are dealing with the world we're living in, but on a much smaller scale.
Right.
So really, really excited to do this. Really honored that James would allow us to do the world premiere, professional premiere of this work. It really is showing on an international level, we are garnering attention for the work that we're doing here.
All right. Another co-production starts in late May called Fun Home. It's recommended for ages 16 and up. What can you tell us about that?
So Evolution Theater Company is synonymous with LGBTQ works. I will tell you that this is one of the first times since they have moved to the Abbey where I feel like the L is getting as much having as much of a place of importance as the G.
Okay.
So this piece is actually based off of a graphic novel. So it started off as a graphic novel, and then the composer decided that they wanted to make this into a musical. It had tremendous critical acclaim in New York, won multiple Tony Awards. I had the good fortune of being a part of the regional premiere of it at my prior place of employment.
Wow.
I still feel like there's things that need to be done with this. And so we worked with an incredible graphic artist for American Idiot. And when we landed on Fun Home, I said to her, and this is even before we finished American Idiot, I said, I already know what our next project is. And so what I want to do is honor the original source material.
Right.
That's great.
And we have the technology, we have multiple projectors in the Abbey. And what if we can make the creation of the actual graphic novel be a part of what is going on?
You had me a graphic novel.
This is the one that's going to get Bruce in the seats. He looks interested over there.
It's heart-wrenching. It'll make you laugh. It'll make you cry. It's a multi-generational musical. It checks all the boxes. I'm so excited to collaborate with Evolution Theater Company to bring this piece to Dublin.
Amazing. Well, here's something you don't hear often. A play written by a retired Supreme Court justice. In this case, it's Abbey Theater favorite and Ohio Justice Herb Brown, and the production is You Are My Boy. What's this one about, Joe?
This is 2025 is the 20th anniversary of this piece's world premiere. And Herb has become a part of the fabric of the Abbey Theater of Dublin. This is the 4th time that we've had the privilege of collaborating with him in my time in the space. And it's about Richard Nixon and his ascent to power. And so, again, using something that the community is familiar with, right? You know, you give them a hook. Oh, Richard Nixon. Oh, wow. Before he actually became president. I don't know how much everybody knows about that anymore, right? We're a little bit, you know, there's some distance between that.
Absolutely.
And so it's giving people a taste of history. So, and then you get them in the door, and then you get to learn more about Richard. You get to learn more about Pat. And that's what was exciting to me. And also Herb is 93 years old. So for him to have a chance to turn back the clock per se and revisit one of his first full length piece that was ever produced, it's just an honor and a treat. And if you ever have the chance to meet Herb Brown, he is without a doubt one of the smartest and most amazing human beings I've ever had the privilege of collaborating with. He is a gem, and it's just such a treat to collaborate with him and bring his works to life.
Well, let's get him on the show, Joe. Bring him on.
Hey, I would love that.
All right. Another co-production with Evolution Theater Company comes to the Abbey Theater late June and July called A Real Boy. It's the retelling of the classic Pinocchio, but in a different way.
Right. So Jeff Downing, an amazing playwright. This piece has only been produced one other time in a theater in Montana. And so piece came up on my radar through Evolution Theater Company. And I think it's really interesting to say that people can be different in different ways.
Sure.
And the story of Pinocchio, right? Well, you know, and it's so, but what happens if he was different, not just because he also started off as a puppet, right? So, and it's embracing differences. It's embracing differences and understanding that sometimes people have a difficult time understanding where people are coming from and why they are the way they are. And so in our efforts to continue our inclusion, you know, responsibilities, I believe, as a theatrical institution, I was like, this is the perfect fit. And also another multi-generational opportunity. So the pre-professional company at the Abbey has the opportunity to be a part of this show, and Evolution is an equity theater company. We partner with them on Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. So these youth artists have the opportunity to work alongside Actors Union, Actors Equity Artists, and then once they have that, they now then have the opportunity to join the union themselves whenever they are ready. This does not expire. So if they decide that this is what they want to do for a living, they have a contract with Evolution Theater Company that they can then go to the Actors Union and say, I had the chance to participate in an equity production. I would like to now join the union.
Wow.
What a tremendous opportunity.
Yeah.
Wow. I want to know how many careers you are spurring here with this Abbey Theater work. And here's another one that's great for the whole family with a lot of familiarity. Alice in Wonderland Jr. in July.
Yeah. So super excited. So our junior production traditionally happens in this time in the mid to late slot in July. And Alice in Wonderland, everybody knows the story. This is a really wonderful abbreviated adaptation of the original Disney animated movie. So it's got the songs that you know and you love. And we get to see Alice become big, become small, you know, become big again, become small again. And so it gives an opportunity. Like, so there you have one role, but then you can have like 3 different people playing it because of the different sizes of Alice. And again, so that type of as many opportunities as we can provide for the community we want to, right? And if this is a touch point and this is how you get somebody in the door,
absolutely,
you know, like they may not be familiar with A Real Boy, but they know Alice in Wonderland, and then they work with us and it lights the spark and then it perpetuates itself. And that's the cool part.
That is awesome. All right, we'll bump up the age back up to 13 and up for Hadestown, the teen edition. Now, this comes to the Abbey in August. What's that about? This
is so cool. So Hadestown is a spin on your familiar story about Orpheus and Eurydice and Hades and Persephone, but told in a kind of fusion style of gospel and New Orleans jazz.
Oh, I love that.
Again, a piece that kind of took the theatrical world by storm. I remember listening to this as a concept album, in a live concept album in 2012. It came out in 2010. So another one of those pieces where, okay, here comes another Joe Passion project. But the rights just became available for the teen edition. Okay, so there are some schools that have been doing it, but we are like the first entity, non-school entity in this area that is producing this piece. And I'll give you an example of how hot that is. All right. So we announced the audition registration for that in early December. Before December was done, all 72 spots were full.
Unbelievable.
Okay? All right. Wow. And so we just opened a few more spots. So this is something that it's not just me. The kids want to be a part of it too, which is good. It is for our pre-professional company.
Oh, it's extremely popular. Awesome. And Joe, I think I remember getting you to agree to sing us a line or two from Hadestown. So why don't you dazzle us with those famously smooth Bishara vocals?
Oh boy. All right. So let's try something and hope that the voice works. Okay. Wait for me, I'm coming. Wait, I'm coming with you. Wait for me. I'm coming to. I'm coming to.
Oh
Yes.
my God.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Why do we just have him talking? He should be singing the
He should be singing
entire,
the entire podcast.
That
The
was-
podcast, the musical. Link ahead, the musical.
Right.
I'm game for that.
There we go.
I'm game for
I
that.
think so. Okay. Well, while I have you singing, give us a little something from Gutenberg the Musical, which is a 2-man musical spoof that you are co-starring in, right?
Yes.
Let's
So
go.
this show is a hoot and a holler. I have to tell you, when I actually picked this show, I said, man, this is one that I think Bruce will really enjoy.
I'm there.
Knowing Bruce's sense of humor. So this piece came out off Broadway in the early 2000s, and like hardcore theater people loved it. It did not get the run it deserved. And so Andrew Reynolds and Josh Gad, who became, they received their claim to fame from Book of Mormon, right? Well, then they loved this piece too. And then they actually put it on Broadway, all right, a couple of years ago, to much fanfare. And so like I remembered it when it came in off Broadway, and all my theater friends were like, "Oh my gosh, it's so funny, it's so funny." and I never got like hardcore into it. And then so this is actually something that is the I blame one of my former pre-pros for this. So because he went and saw the show and he's like, "Joe, you have to do it. Joe, you have to do it. Joe, you have to do it." He wouldn't stop. He would not stop. And I said, "Okay, I will listen to it." And I fell in love with it. And then the rights became available. And so I got to surprise him for it because he joked about it. He's like, "Well, you know, the rights are available." And I said, "Well, you know, I already applied for them." And he went, "What?" And so this is really exciting for me because one of our music directors who has worked with us frequently in the pre-pro program, and I've worked with for the past decade, we've worked together in different capacities. I've directed him. He has directed while I've produced, but we have never actually been on stage together.
Oh, that's gonna be
So we actually are, for the first time ever, we get to be on stage together. And I think it's really cool because we're running Gutenberg and rotating rep with Hadestown. So the kids we're working with on Hadestown then get to then see us in action. So we're like, we're not just, we're practicing what we preach, right? Well, we exhausted, but it, man, is it fun. So this is a goofy song. So the people, so the whole premise of it, it's kind of meta. It's very meta.
Okay.
So what meaning is that, so the actors in the show are playing the people who actually wrote the show.
Okay.
So it's more like trying to generate interest. So it's almost like a producer's reading. All right. And so then they're singing, they're playing all the parts because they don't have enough money to bring in actors to do the table reading. All right. So you're going to see us go through all and play all these characters in the beautiful town of Schlimmer. So Gutenberg is all about Johann Gutenberg, who created the printing press.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, perfect material for a musical,
Great.
right? All right. So here's a little song that Gutenberg sings when he's really excited. It's in the Act 1 finale. Okay, let's see if I can get the words right. Here we go. When I got out of bed today, history was a lot more boring than I thought in a different way. Now the bird of inspiration soaring, look at these hands. They're attached to a normal man who probably changed your world.
Yes.
Oh my word.
Yes.
We're in the presence of greatness.
I'm buying my
Bruce.
tickets
I'm
right now.
humbled.
Right now, during this podcast.
Are there season tickets? Because I want to come to all of this.
You know what? That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think you just lit the spark for
We're
that.
the marketing people.
Yes, there we go.
We're
That's
here
it.
to help
That's
you.
it. All right. So you and the Abbey team get a little break, which I don't know how you're doing all this in tandem. And then, so well-deserved break. You come back in November with the mysterious sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald and the Witch of November. And it starts in November.
Yes. Well, and there's a real important reason for that. So, local playwright, Vidas Barsdukis.
Yes.
Incredible playwright. He's had a lot of his pieces premiered at Actors Theater of Columbus, and some of those pieces have now been picked up by licensing companies, and they're being produced all across the United States. And so I had the opportunity to meet with him, and he said, "Hey, I've got this piece. I don't know if you're going to like it." Well, it's this piece. And this piece is really, really important for us to be doing in 2025, because in November of 2025, they will be having a ceremony to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald. So for us to be doing the world premiere of this piece during the 50th anniversary of the sinking, significantly important. It's amazing because, again, I think people know about the Edmund Fitzgerald, maybe because of Gordon Lightfoot, maybe because there's a beer named after it. But I'd like for them to know it after this production because of this play.
Right.
That's funny.
Right.
All right, 2 shows to go. Another great one from Disney and another offering in November too. Tell us about Frozen Jr. Are we going to have him sing? You're not going to sing anything from Frozen for us?
I gotta leave something left so you bring me back.
That's it.
Perfect.
So Frozen Jr., I mean, Frozen, everybody knows and loves Frozen, but so during COVID, when we first started introducing audiences back into the Abbey, we did a 30-minute version of Frozen, and we would only have 30 people in the audience.
Right.
And we were doing like 4 productions of it a day because we were trying to keep up with demand. So to have an opportunity to revisit this piece now that everything is back to normal and give the community a chance to, the depth and breadth of the community a chance to see it, it's just a treat. And this is another one of our Saturday morning iterations. So 10 rehearsals from 9 to noon, and then up it goes.
Showtime.
Yep.
All right. And finally, the classic of all classics from Charles Dickens, A Christmas Carol, comes to the Abbey Theater in December.
So I've fought against this because because if you think about it, look, a lot of theaters' bread and butter is going, okay, we need something that we know will get people in the audience. And A Christmas Carol fits the bill. But this is a little bit different. So this is an adaptation of Christmas Carol written by Patrick Barlow. And if you're not familiar with that name, he wrote an adaptation of Alfred Hitchcock's The 39 Steps. And you did it with a minimum amount of actors playing multiple roles, kind of like what we were talking about with Gutenberg. So this is going to use Patrick Barlow's adaptation. It's also going to have a cappella Christmas music that comes in. So we're going to have a chorus that's singing all a cappella. We're also going to make this a multi-generational production. And we're going to have a Tiny Tim and the Cratchit family is going to be there. So it's utilizing Patrick Barlow's adaptation, but then also trying to make it have more community involvement.
Love it.
So we're really excited to bring that here.
Wow. Bruce and I are known for our a cappella vocals, so maybe we could audition.
Known for, Lindsay, is what I'd want to say. But
Scott, our producer, is giving me the thumbs down, so I guess I'll just move on.
Oh, man.
Well, Joe, we've asked this in years past, but it's certainly worth talking about again. How do you go about deciding which productions are put into the rotation?
And that's a great question because it continues to evolve. A lot of the things that you are hearing about that you would say are new works, it's sometimes the artists reaching out to us and providing us with an opportunity to put something on our stage that I think really fits into what this community has gravitated towards. As I said, with James reaching out to us from across the pond saying, I think this piece would work for you. And I said, yeah, it does. And then also with Vitis, again, it's like he's like, hey, I have this piece. I think it's really important. And I also think it's, at the appropriate time to do it. So it's a mix of sometimes artists from internationally reaching out to us, local artists reaching out to us. And then sometimes it's going, again, with Frozen, right? It's been a few years since we've done this. I would like to give a chance for more people to see it.
So, not that you need this, but can residents or can they make suggestions? Be like, hey, Joe, how about this?
Yes, in fact, they do. And I will always listen.
Sure.
And so when we before we had decided that we were going to do Grease, it was actually funny. I had a couple of the parents of the pre-pros say, "I'm sure you don't want to hear this, but," and I went, "You know what? No, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It would provide a lot of opportunities for students, and so we do listen." And I'll tell you, and this is another tease for next year. All right. Before I came in here today, I actually met with a community member who has lived here since 2016, but had never set foot in the Abbey and is also a very accomplished playwright. And so we had a meeting with them today, and a very modest person, and said, well, I have this musical and I would really like for you to take a look at it. And so that conversation began via email a couple of weeks ago. It's a great piece. It also has that hook about it's somebody that you know, but you might not know the depth and breadth of them, the ABCs of them. So yes, we do listen to the community. We want the community to be a part of what we're doing, not just on stage, but if they have a piece of art that checks the boxes and it serves the depth and breadth, we want that to happen here. Why wouldn't we? Let's raise up the artists we have in our community.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, and what a great tease. Now I'm already salivating for 2026. Now, when you said next year, I thought for sure you were going to say we're doing Wicked. Are the rights available for that?
Yes, and I think they're going to milk that a little bit more. Yeah, let's get through part 2. Let's get through part 2 of the movie.
Okay, so you are already thinking about 2026 is what I'm hearing.
100%. Yeah.
So with your job here, Joe, is it hard to keep up with performances on Broadway? Like, do you get a chance to take a break from, working 24/7 here to go see a show?
I made a point that after the last time we spoke, I said, man, I don't want them to ask me here again and say I haven't been to New York. So I did. I had the opportunity to go to New York in November to actually meet with one of our Abbey favorites, playwright Sean Cooney. And so I was meeting with Sean to talk about his next piece, what that is a tease for 2026. Mm-hmm. But then also I had the chance to see, I went to Lincoln Center and I saw Robert Downey Jr. in action in a piece called McNeil, which is all about the trials and tribulations of AI. Amazing piece, something I hope to actually bring here to the Abbey once the rights become available.
Was it terrifying or was it like a comedy?
It was, it was real. It was real. I mean, like, it was just like, and it's something that I think about quite frankly all the time. It's like, well, then how are we telling the difference as this technology continues to improve? Which, with almost any type of technology, right? You're hoping that it's being created for the benefit of all. Sure. But then we're going, well, then who is writing what? And it's like, and does it are we losing our individual identities? Are we losing our authenticity? And so it questions those things. And so it's a fascinating thing to think about. And I think that's the purpose of art, to make us think and feel.
Absolutely.
All right, Joe, being the three-peat guest that you are, before the curtain drops, we close each episode with rapid fire. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so we're going to first break it down, your various roles within the theater as actor, director, producer. Which role is the hardest physically?
Hardest physically is, because I'm not doing it as much anymore, is the acting part of it. Because it's getting back into that. Acting is truly something where you have to be mindful of the kinesthesiology of it. So you have to make sure, okay, I need to be practicing when I'm at home for me, and this is not for everybody, but I find that I'm better off that when I'm at home, I'm practicing during the same time frame that I'm rehearsing. Mm-hmm. And then when I'm rehearsing, I want to start when we go through run-throughs and things, I want to be rehearsing at the same time frame that I'm traditionally performing.
All right, hardest mentally.
Hardest mentally is probably the producing side of it, especially if I'm producing / directing, which is what's happening a lot, because it's being mindful of making sure that all the lowercase j's are dotted. It's like going, okay, all right, I know I have you lined up. Okay, well, where is this in the purchasing process, right? Those types of things. Making sure that you have everything you need when you need it, because the calendar for theater is a little bit different than some of the other departments. Oh, sure. Your brain has to work a little bit differently. You have to spend a third of the day in the now, a third of the day in where you're going to be halfway through the year, and the other third of the day is, you're thinking 12 to 18 months ahead.
Unbelievable. Wow. That kind of lends to this next question. What's the hardest from a management standpoint?
I think the hardest thing from a management standpoint is balancing when you're working on a passion project and then understanding as a director, and then you're understanding it's understanding how to put all of your team in the best position to succeed. And I'm going to expound upon this a little bit more, because I don't feel like they get enough credit. Our technical team at the Abbey is second to none. Mm-hmm. I have had the benefit of being a full-time theater artist for 25 years of my life now. And I can tell you that our team, I would not be venturing to do even half of what we're doing if we didn't have the technicians that we have at the Abbey. And so it's understanding, yes, Joe, I understand you want it this way, but how do we make this so our tech team can get to the finish line, right? And they don't complain. Are you kidding me? They're just as passionate and enthusiastic about the work that we're doing as I am. But it's making sure that, again, we have enough battery left to make sure that we're then also able to then start work on the next piece. So it's managing the passion versus, it's a left brain, right brain thing.
Right. All right. Most fun.
I think the most fun thing for me to do is direct. I mean, I love all of it. I'm so grateful that I am here and that I have the opportunity to wear all these different hats. And it's such a privilege, and I will never, ever treat it as an entitlement, but that's the directing side of it. Yeah.
All right. Which is the most dependent upon the other actors?
I would tell you everything.
They all are.
Everything. The ingredients make the recipe. I know I keep coming back to that, but it's like you need to find people, especially with, the Abbey is an incubation space. Well, what are we incubating? It's impossible to do it without the right group of actors who want to provide immediate and authentic storytelling and are 100% willing, ready, and able to collaborate. Not just not just keep tunnel vision. It's understanding that we're all a part of something that's so much bigger than what we are individually.
So off script a little bit, and without naming names, have you ever cast someone and then all of a sudden, like halfway through, you realize this was a big mistake?
Recast.
Yes.
That's got to be tough.
Without a doubt. And you try to make the most of it. And that's where it's like, you're a director meets psychotherapist, unlicensed, but you try to make the most out of the situation. And I believe that that's my job. My job is to put everyone that we collaborate with in the Abbey in the best possible position to succeed. And so when that happens, I'm like, even if I'm like I'm a producer, right? And then the director brings that information to me, I'm like, okay, we've got to figure out how to make this work if it can.
All right. Requires the most prep or homework?
It's really the producing side of things because of all the new works that we're doing. So, you've got to, I mean it as an incubation thing. You're trying to nurture this piece, and that means that you're sometimes doing multiple table readings, and you're bringing the playwright in with other artists to hear the work out loud, and then you've got to have a fierce conversation if it's not working. You need to be like, "Hey, I really enjoy this part. These are the things that I'm concerned about because I don't think it lacks clarity," and so you need to find the way to wordsmith that sometimes because we can't do what we're doing without the playwright. And so those are the types of conversations that can be difficult.
Sure.
But I think we've had the benefit of doing this so often. Most of the time now, our reputation precedes us. Mm-hmm. And so when we get to that point, the artist gets it. And they're like, yeah, no, I understand. And I appreciate you bringing that up. And how can we make it better?
Okay, so on the flip side of things, be honest, which role requires the least prep?
That's a great question. I will tell you, if I get to operate sometimes just as a director, and again, this is because I've had the benefit of some tread off my tires. I've been doing this for a while. If I just get to focus on directing, that can be pretty easy because I've got, if you are doing anything, if everyone has the good fortune of doing something for years upon years upon years, you know how it goes. You don't have to follow a checklist, right? And so I feel very fortunate that in my career, I've had so many opportunities to direct that I can be like a hot knife through butter when it comes to that.
Awesome. All right, let's switch gears a little bit. If you could act with any other actor, alive, not alive, in the world, who would it be?
My wife.
Wow. Was not expecting that.
No, my wife is just, I joke about it. I don't think I'm the best theater artist in my family. So my wife's professional name is Liz Wheeler. And so she is a member of the Actors Union, as I am, and she is the theater instructor at Columbus School for Girls. So she runs the high school and the middle school program. But before that, the pop quiz I always tell people, I'm like, guess who in my family has worked at 2 Tony Award winning regional theater companies? It's not me. It's my wife. Amazing actor, amazing choreographer, director, you name it. And we had the benefit of meeting, working on a production. Yeah. And we've also had the good fortune of acting opposite each other 8 times.
Oh my.
Awesome.
It's been a minute since we've done that, but yeah, in a heartbeat, my wife.
Awesome.
Well, I'm wondering if we'll have a different answer for this next question. If you could direct any other actor, who would it be?
Oh, wow. Well, I've had the good fortune of directing my wife, and she is wonderful. Love you, honey. But, I would be hard pressed to not say someone who I've always just had so much respect for anytime I've seen them. Tom Hanks, man.
Oh my gosh.
Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Come on.
He can do anything.
Well, and he just seems like, and maybe he's doing a great job acting in his interviews. He just seems like such a cool dude. But he started his career, I don't know if you know this, he started his career at Great Lakes Shakespeare in Cleveland.
No, didn't know that.
Oh yeah, and he's given money back to that program. He's given money back to Wright State University. I mean, so he has Ohio ties.
All right, so would you direct Tom Hanks in a feature film, a play, or a musical?
Oh, twist my arm. Okay. I guess that'd be okay.
Okay, what did 15-year-old Joe want to be when he grew up?
I don't know if it was 15-year-old Joe. I used to joke about it. I used to love astronomy and I love singing. And so I'd be like, can I be a rock star astronaut?
Yes, you can.
Is that a thing? Is that a thing? I think by the time I turned 15, I was afraid to admit that this is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so I played soccer all through elementary and middle school and high school. And then freshman, I'm playing JV soccer and I'm doing all right. But my ankles were a mess. I had to tape them all the time and I hated it. And I finally looked in the mirror one day and I said, I'm not going to get a scholarship to college playing soccer. And I'm like, but people tell me I sing all right. And there's a lot of pretty girls in show choir.
There you go.
So a career was born.
A career was born. Lastly, for a young person who's always wanted to try acting or singing or designing a stage set, but still not quite ready to make that leap, they need a nudge. What's your best advice for that young person?
Well, if they are here and they're nearby, I hope that they would come to the Abbey. That's what we're here for. The incubation space is not just for new works. It's truly to help these young artists, these fledgling artists, find their way. That's what our Saturday morning program is for. You register for that. You're not auditioning to be in or out of it. You're already in it. You have an audition to play what specific part you want to play. We are working with 3 of the middle schools this year, helping their productions come to fruition. That's not a part of the 13-show season. And so we're collaborating with their artists, not only on stage, but off stage. We have a partnership with Dublin Kaufman High School. We've had previous partnerships with Dublin Jerome High School. We are here if people want to get a taste of what theater is like. At the heart of what we do is we mentor and we educate and we raise up others.
And you don't have to be from Dublin. You
No.
get people from all over the region.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. And I'm really proud of that because, the proof's in the pudding. And so, that doesn't happen unless people are speaking your names in rooms in the ways that you want them to. And again, just tremendously proud of how far we've come in the past 5 years and incredibly excited about what the next 5 will bring.
Joe, you are such a rock star, and I can't wait to see you at the Abbey. So thank you again for joining us for your 3rd time on Link Ahead.
Thank you both so much. I love coming and speaking with you.
A rock star astronaut, Bruce.
That's right.
And to our listeners, thank you as well for taking the time to connect with your city. Tune in next time as we continue to explore the many personalities and experiences that make Dublin a thriving place to live, work, and grow.